Welcome to the method overview for the Caregiver-led Homeschool Co-op method. My name is Milena Smith, and in this video, I'll walk you through the foundation of this model and how it can be implemented in your own community. This is not just a concept. This is a structured framework that has been working in real life for over 2 years, and I'm very excited to show you how it works, so let's get started. There's a big difference between something that works because of personality and something that works because of structure. Personality-based programs often feel strong in the beginning, and they grow because the founder is passionate, charismatic, or deeply committed. But when that founder steps away, the program collapses. It collapses because it was built around a person, not a system. Structure-based programs, they're different. They survive leadership transitions, they outlive the founder, and they can be replicated. This method that I'm about to show you on this video is structure-based. What I'm walking you through today is the actual framework and backbone behind what became a functioning nonprofit homeschool co-op. This is not theory, this is the structure that has been implemented, tested, and refined in real life. By the end of this presentation, you're going to understand 4 key things: why this works developmentally, why it works socially, why it works operationally, and how you could build this wherever you live. This is about building intentional homeschool community without losing caregiver presence. This slide isn't about me personally, it is about credibility and context. So before I explain the structure, it's important to understand the background that shaped it. My favorite title will always be the one you see first, Elijah and Claire's mom, because everything I built started there. And I also hold a bachelor degree in biomedical science. That means I was trained for 5 years to think in systems, evidence, and structure. I've also worked in banking and compliance, where I learned about governance, policies, risk management, and sustainability. And today I'm the founder and president of Over and Wonders Homeschool Co-op, which is a functioning nonprofit that operates using this exact structure that I'm about to tell you and show you. So this method is a result of all three of those worlds coming together: motherhood, science, and operational leadership. When I entered homeschooling, I immediately noticed something. There were two extremes. On one side, small invitation-based groups that were difficult to access. Families often formed private circles that were not easily available to newcomers. And on the other side, co-ops that felt chaotic or unstructured. Everyone gathered with good intentions, but without a clear expectation or leadership, things often felt overwhelming. And also, there were co-ops with rigid attendance policies that recreated the same pressure many families are choosing homeschooling to step away from, and offering very limited flexibility, strict attendance requirements, very little room for real life. And I just kept seeing the same tension. What was missing was operational clarity. I did not see a clear structure that balanced flexibility with consistency. I did not see a system that supported families without overwhelming them. So I built one. This method was built by someone who understands systems, structure, and governance, and who is also deeply motivated by motherhood. My children were my reason. They were the standard. And I wanted something strong, sustainable, and thoughtful for them. And the same level of care is what shaped this method. This is where the social gap became clear. Homeschoolers often struggle with isolation, not academically, but socially. Playdates, they are wonderful, but they are not enough. They are spontaneous, they are informal, they are not structured collaboration. And many drop-off programs just did not align with my values. I did not want to remove myself from my children's learning environment just to create social interaction. So I just asked myself a simple question: is it possible to create structured group learning without losing the caregiver presence? And that question became the foundation of this method. Here's what I realized. There were 4 consistent problems. First, the social gap in homeschooling. Second, the lack of structured group interaction, not just gathering, but intentional collaboration. Third, caregivers overwhelmed by planning everything alone, every lesson, every activity, every opportunity for interaction. And fourth, we had children missing regular practice in collaborative learning. Um, And what I mean by missing regular practice in collaborative learning would be waiting their turn, listening to others, working on shared projects, navigating disagreements. Those are not optional skills, they are academic and life skills, and they cannot be practiced alone. So, this method was designed to address all four of those. It provides structured group learning without outsourcing the caregiver. Clarity protects integrity. So it is important to define what this method is not. It is not a curriculum. It does not replace home academics. It is not a drop off enrichment center. And it is not an ideological space. When something is not clearly defined, it slowly drifts. The expectations blur, the boundaries weaken. And I made a very intentional decision to keep ideology out of group learning spaces because group learning is about skills, collaboration, and shared experience. It is not about institutionalizing belief systems. So, when and how to introduce belief systems is a decision that belongs to families. And then that neutrality, oh my goodness, that neutrality is not accidental. It is one of the strongest structural protections built into this method. So, this method is a structured caregiver led co op framework. It was intentionally designed to provide the social experiences that homeschool children often miss without recreating institutional school. When I say school like structure, I do not mean a classroom or bureaucracy. I mean intentional time together. There will be time to work towards something together, time to collaborate, time to practice taking turns, listening, sharing, respecting differences, solving problems, working toward a shared outcome. Those are all non academic extras. They are foundational life skills, and they cannot be fully developed alone in a kitchen table. And that is why this method is focused on group learning. And with group learning does not mean isolating the kids inside another closed circle. So community integration is part of that structure because kids need to feel like they're part of the community they belong. They engage in senior centers with local businesses, first responders, community organizations, and other nonprofits. So they learn that they belong to something bigger than just a co op. And finally, this framework is built to be replicable anywhere. The structure is clear enough that families can implement it in their own communities, adapt it reasonably, responsibly, and build something sustainable without reinventing the wheel. This method rests on five core pillars. Each one exists for a reason. First, we have caregiver led, no drop offs. Adult presence changes group dynamics. When caregivers are engaged, children regulate better, the conflicts de escalate faster, and the environment stays emotionally steady. Second, we have structured and predictable. Children thrive when they know what to expect. Predictability builds confidence, and structure increases participation. Third, we have mixed age collaborative learning. Real life is now age segmented, so younger children they learn from older ones. Older children develop leadership and patience, and the entire group becomes more dynamic. Fourth, ideology free. Group learning spaces should build skills and not shape belief systems. Families guide worldview, and the co op protects the neutrality. And fifth, community integrated enrichment, because learning becomes meaningful when it connects to real people and real places. When children engage with their community, education becomes a lived experience. Each one of those pillars is intentional. If you remove one, the integrity of the whole structure will be weakened. Weakened. Now let's talk about why caregiver led works. In traditional classrooms, one adult may be responsible for 20 or more children. In this model, responsibility is shared. That changes the emotional climate immediately. Emotional regulation happens in real time. Children are co regulated by the trusted adult that they came with while still interacting with peers. There is more serve and return responsiveness, more modeling, less power struggle, and no single adult is carrying the pressure of managing the entire group. The leader, the person that will be leading that session, is not overwhelmed because the adults in the room are engaged with their own children and not outsourced. That combination creates stability. It prevents um, behavioral spirals before they escalate and supports healthy emotional development. People often ask what's the age group, and the honest answer is that there isn't one. Because this method is intentionally mixed age, the same topic is presented at layered depth. Younger children absorb vocabulary, tone, routine. They learn how to participate in a group, while older children engage with deeper concepts. They ask more complex questions. They practice leadership and mentorship naturally. And everyone is learning the same theme, just at different cognitive depths. Differentiation is built into structure with adaptations for very young children and extensions for older ones. And this is real world learning. Real life is not divided into grade levels. So up to this point, I've walked you through the structure of the method. Now I want to show you what it looks like in real life. Wolverine Wonders Homeschool Co-op is the nonprofit implementation of this framework. This method can absolutely exist in different legal models. It could function privately, it could operate under an LLC. But what I am going to show you is how it was built and developed inside a nonprofit structure. Wolverine Wonders is the real world expression of everything I've just explained. I'm going to briefly walk you through how it started, how it evolved into a nonprofit, how the mini classes developed, and what the program looks like today. Then we'll return to the broader framework. Wolverine Wonders did not start as an organization, it started as a need. I was looking for a structured group learning for my children, and I wanted them to have a classroom style collaboration with their peers, to work on projects together, to learn in a group setting. But I did not want to drop them off. I wanted to be present. For many families, that is why we homeschool in the first place. We want to be part of the learning experience and not outsource it. At the time, I did not have the resources to open a business or create a formal program, so I asked for help. I approached the director of a local nonprofit and asked if she would allow me to use a room if I started a homeschool co op group, and she said yes. And because of that support and trust, the group began informally with just 3 families, and it was very simple, but the intention was very clear from the very beginning. After running formally for about 6 months, something became clear. Families were asking me if I was coming back with this program, so there was a demand. So I formalized it, and Wolverine Wonders became a 501c3 nonprofit. And what began as a small informal group grew into a structured organization with multiple enrichment programs. But the heart of the method was always the mini classes. That was the original vision of it, a structured, intentional social learning experience that gives children the rhythm and collaboration of a school day without requiring 6 or 7 hours in a classroom. In just 2 focused hours, children experience group learning, shared projects, routine, and structure. So it is a condensed school day model that it's efficient, it's intentional, it's focused, and over time, that structure has been shaped by family feedback, and the structure continues to evolve, but the focus will always remain the same, that is, serve the children well. So many classes did not start exactly as they are today, they have evolved. In the very first lesson plan, I included phonics and math alongside with circle time, snack, science or social studies, crafts, music, and wrap up. But it became clear very quickly that phonics and math were not a good fit for a mixed age group. Children were at completely different levels, and it was difficult to teach uniformly without disrupting individual pace, and that was never the goal. So, phonics and math are also areas that families are already deeply engaged with at home. So, I decided to remove them, and they were replaced with reading comprehension, as you can see here, where we would read together and discuss, and that allowed all ages to participate at different depths. So, next, we experimented with, instead of having alternated science and social studies, we were teaching both science and social studies in the same session, one before and one after snack. But that created a cognitive fragmentation, if I would say, because children would become very interested in one topic, and then we would go out for a snack, and then we would just suddenly shift to another topic, and we'll kind of lose the interest on that shift. So we refined again. And this is when the single theme mini class model was born, which was one topic per session with deeper engagement, more structure, and it made more sense for the kids. So since 2004, that's the structure that remained consistent. And we have just adjust the times allowed for each session. So now we have 10 minutes for welcome and circle time, 10 minutes for reading comprehension, 30 minutes for topic of the day with a short focused video, no more than 5 minutes, and a guided worksheet. Then we take a snack break for 10 minutes, then 40 minutes for crafts or hands-on activities, 15 minutes for music and movement, and 5 minutes to wrap up and goodbye. So this kind of mirrors the school day rhythm, but in a very condensed and focused format. The adjustments were not reactive, they were intentional refinements to better serve the children and listening to feedback from our members as well. So, as the structure of the mini classes got more stable, additional programs began to grow. And what you're seeing here are the programs currently operating within Wolverine Wonders. Mini classes remain the core of the operations. Quest Lab runs simultaneously as the adaptation for older students, allowing them to engage with the same themes at a greater depth. Marvelous Minds was created to introduce children to influential figures in history whose contributions shape the world we live in. It is about cultural literacy and exposure. Paint and Sip Kids is a collaboration with a local artist who leads monthly guided painting sessions. Then we have Elevated Wolverines, that is our self defense collaboration with the local martial arts studio. The book club that runs monthly, and it's paired with the movie Monday, where students watch the film adaptation after completing the book reading. We also have Sprouts and Spoons, that it's our monthly cooking program. So each program operates under the same caregiver led structured philosophy. They are different expressions of the same framework that I'm showing you in this video. And these additional programs that grew from the same foundation. So we also have Grand Friends Day, that is our monthly visit to senior centers. It creates intergenerational relationships where both the children and the seniors benefit from meaningful interaction. Games and Giggles is focused on board games and shared play. Children practice strategy, sportsmanship, patience, and collaboration in a structured but joyful environment. Wonder Cycle is our recycling initiative in collaboration with a local partner. It connects environmental responsibility with hands on learning. We have field trips to extend learning into the community, giving children real world exposure to local businesses and organizations. Playdates that provide the intentionally unstructured social time that it is very important. Not everything needs to be an agenda, not everything needs to have an agenda. And we have Let's Have a Moment, which is designed for caregivers because supporting families means supporting the parents as well. Waterwise is a swimming collaboration with the Christian Court Memorial Swim Fund, expanding physical skills development in a safe and structured environment. In Homeschoolers Playgroup, that provides an open entry point for families who may not yet be ready for full program participation. This is open to the community. So having programs open to the broader community and not just your group is always beneficial. Together, these programs form a community ecosystem, different expressions, but the same philosophy. This is just a quick visual of what the method looks like in real life. You see reading moments where we gather together and discuss a book. You see worksheet time, where kids are thinking independently but still in community. There are craft blocks over here where hands are busy and conversations are happening naturally. Then you're gonna see a couple pictures here from Sprouts and Spoons in action because cooking together builds more than just recipes. There's our short video moment that usually we play during mini classes that helps anchor the topic before we move into discussion. And what I want you to notice isn't perfection, it's engagement, it's structure, it's caregivers present, and it's kids learning together. And this is just a little more of what that ecosystem looks like. You see waterwise in action, kids building confidence and skills in the water through community partnership. You see marvelous minds in this picture. We were talking about Dr. Seuss, and they made their own hats from the cat in the hat and connected creativity with history. And there's book club followed by movie Monday. So this is one of the pictures of our book club. We had just read The Indian in the Cupboard, so they made little teepees with their Indians. And you also see a paint and sip session here. And on the bottom row, something that matters deeply to me, that it's every Valentine's Day, we bake and deliver cookies to the community, to the fire department, the senior center, the library, the recreation center, because this method is not only about learning together, it's about belonging to something bigger than ourselves, and especially belonging to the community we live in. So, community integration, speaking of community, it's not an add on, it's intentional. I never wanted to remove kids from a school system just to recreate another isolated system. If we're choosing homeschooling, you shouldn't mean shrinking the world, it should mean expanding it. That's why partnerships with local businesses are central to this method. We collaborate with organizations, studios, nonprofits, and local leaders so children see how their community actually functions. We bring in guest experts so learning connects to real people doing real work. We visit senior centers because intergenerational relationships matter. We look for service opportunities for farmers market volunteer opportunities, community events, cookie deliveries, moments where children contribute, not just consume. And the goal is not to create a bubble. The goal is to root children in the place they live, to help them belong to something real. So when I say ideology, I mean organized belief systems that guide people toward certain conclusions about the world. This method keeps group spaces neutral, not because ideas are bad, not because conversations are off limits, but because children are still forming how they think. Group learning is for building skills, collaboration, curiosity, respect, shared experiences. Deeper belief systems conversations belong primarily in the home, where families decide the timing and the approach. So, keeping group spaces neutral also makes it possible for families from different backgrounds to participate together comfortably. It creates a space where no one feels guarded, and that stability is part of what makes the model work long term. This is the operational structure, so this is what actually makes it work. Every session comes with detailed lesson plans, not just topics, but a full breakdown of what happens minute by minute. There is suggested verbiage, so if someone is leading and feels unsure about what to say, they're not guessing. They have language to guide the conversation. There is a complete materials list, not scrambling the night before, no confusion about what to bring. There is a clear flow. Each session follows a predictable structure so kids know what to expect and leaders know how to manage time. And there are built in options on the lesson plans for guest speaker integration. If a local expert wants to participate, the structure allows for that without disrupting the flow. So, this is not just a concept, it's actually a framework that can be implemented. Leadership structure matters. First, founder vision. Every strong model begins with a clear vision. The material you're seeing here comes from years of building, refining, and protecting that vision. Second, a chief operations officer execution. Because vision alone is not enough. You'll need someone who can operationalize it, someone focused on logistics, schedules, communication, and consistency because execution protects the vision. Third, we have board collaboration. In a nonprofit model, major decisions are made by a board that creates accountability and shared responsibility. It also means that expansion and changes require alignment and agreement. And fourth, delegation. No model grows sustainably if everything stays on one person's shoulders. So clear roles and distributed responsibilities are essential. Now, the leadership structure will look a little different depending on whether you choose a nonprofit model or a private entity model. In a nonprofit, the founder's vision operates within board governance, and that can provide stability and foundational support, especially when starting without resources or your own space. In a private model, the founder retains more direct control over expansion and the direction. There is more flexibility, but also more responsibility. Neither one is better than the other. They simply create different levels of freedom, oversight, and scalability. So, in choosing your leadership structure, think about your resources, your confidence in your vision, and how much expansion flexibility you will want in the long term. What makes this replicable is structure. So, first, I will provide fully scripted sessions. So you are not starting from scratch. The sessions are written out clearly, including what to say, how to transition, and how to guide discussion. That reduces hesitation and makes it possible for different caregivers to lead confidently. Second, we have predictable structure. Every session follows the same flow: welcome, reading, topic exploration, snack, craft, movement, wrap up. And that consistency creates stability for kids and make execution easier for leaders. Third, we have differentiation guidance. Not all kids are at the same level. So the framework includes suggestions for adjusting the difficulty, pacing, and expectations without losing the group dynamic. Fourth, built in flexibility. The structure is very strong, but it is not rigid. You can adapt to your space, your community, and your available resources without breaking the model. And finally, feedback refinement process, because this method was shaped over time through real families and real sessions. So there is a system for adjusting and improving based on experience and not just theory. The combination of clarity and adaptability is what allows it to be repeated in different communities. So you do not need a big group to start. 3 to 5 families is a great starting point. You can absolutely grow larger over time, especially if caregivers are present and engaged. But in the beginning, a smaller group makes it easier to build culture, refine your flow, and strengthen the foundation of your group. What matters most is not the number of families, as the alignment. The families involved need to agree on the pillars of the method, remaining ideology free in group spaces, caregivers staying present, no drop offs, shared responsibility, structured sessions. When everyone understands and protects all those pillars, the group stays healthy. And a consistent meeting space is also important. It does not have to be fancy. If you are operating under a nonprofit model, a shared community space like libraries, community centers, or local halls can work beautifully. If you have your own space, that gives you even more flexibility. Either way, consistency is what creates stability for the children and clarity for the adults. Clear expectations make everything smoother. So who leads, who sets up, who cleans, who communicates, how communication happens. When expectations are spoken clearly, misunderstandings will decrease. And finally, willingness to collaborate. So this model depends 100% on active families. It is not built around spectators. So when caregivers are involved and willing to contribute, this structure will hold. If you have a small, committed group, shared understanding, a steady space, and collaborative families, you have everything you need to begin. There are a few things people assume they need before starting something like this, and the truth is that you really don't. First thing, a building. You don't need a building. If you have a building, that's wonderful. It gives you flexibility and room to grow, but it is not required. Many groups begin in shared community spaces, libraries, community centers, local halls, and if you operate as a nonprofit, you might even have access to spaces at little to no cost. Even as a private group, you can rent spaces as needed. So a permanent building is a bonus, it's great. But if you don't have a permanent space, it is not um, it's not something you need. You can use your local shared community spaces. You also don't need certified teachers. This method is not a curriculum replacement. Families are already handling academics at home, and what this model provides is structured social interaction, guided group learning, and community integration. Because it is not functioning as a traditional school, certified teachers are not required for this model to work well. You also don't need a huge budget. You can begin very simple, basic craft materials, shared supplies, small donations. Many families they're willing to contribute in practical ways, and growth can happen gradually. You also don't need a perfect execution. You do not need to reinvent the wheel because the structure, the lesson plans, the flow, and the language are already built. You can refine it as you go, and that is all part of the process. You also don't need 20 families to start this method. You can begin with just a few committed families, and you see that a strong foundation matter more than size. This method was designed to remove unnecessary barriers. So if you're willing to lead and collaborate, you already have more than you think you need. This method was not built in theory. It was shaped through lived experience, real families, real children, real sessions. What worked stayed, what didn't work was adjusted. Over time, the patterns became structure, and structure became a model. It is also open to ongoing improvement. No community is identical, no group is static. The framework is strong, but it allows space for refinement. Feedback is not seen as criticism, it is part of responsible leadership. And growth is intentional. This is not about scaling or growing quickly. It is about growing carefully, protecting the pillars, maintaining clarity, making sure that as the group expands, the quality does not decline. And the goal is sustainability, not speed. And that is how the method evolves without losing its foundation. I understand that this method is not for everyone. There is no one size fits all approach when it comes to homeschooling or community. Every family is different, every season is different, and what works beautifully for one group may not be the right fit for another. So I want to be clear about who this method is for. It is for homeschooling families craving structured community, not just social time, but intentional group learning with rhythm and purpose. It is also for caregivers who want to stay present. This model depends on adult involvement, shared responsibility, and collaboration. It is also for families who value neutrality in group spaces, families who want their children to interact and learn together without ideological pressure in the room. And it is for communities that fill that gap, communities where homeschoolers want connection, structure, and meaningful interactions without recreating traditional school systems. So if that resonates with you, this method might be a very strong fit. At the end of the day, this is not about building a program. It's not about schedules, lesson plans, titles, or structures. Those things matter. They help, they support the work, but they are not the point. The point is belonging. It's about children walking into a room and knowing they have a place there. It's about caregivers not feeling alone in the homeschooling journey. It's about building something stable enough that families can grow inside of it. The structure supports it, the policies protect it, the leadership sustains it, but belonging will always be the reason. Thank you so much for taking the time to walk through this with me. This method was built slowly, intentionally, and through real experience. It represents years of learning, adjusting, protecting, and refining. If you choose to build something like this in your own community, I hope this structure gives you clarity and confidence. The goal has always been simple: stronger families, healthier communities, intentional belonging. Thank you so much for your time.